Well, hey there. This is Brent Smith, and I'm the Common Constitutionalist. And this is my weekly video podcast out here in the wilderness. And I'm out here killing two birds with one stone, pardon the pun. I'm shooting stuff, and I'm doing a podcast at the same time. So there you go. So today I got a couple of things on the docket. First one is going to be Trump at the NRA convention made a speech, and at the speech he signed a rescinding order, a rejection order for the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty, which is a crock, and I'll get into that. And the second topic is going to be Bill de Blasio's new Green Deal for New York City. And boy, I'll tell you, if you're a resident in New York or New York City, you're going to be thrilled to death about this, unless of course you have to pay for it all. So that's what we're going to be discussing today on the Common Constitutionalist Weekend Video Podcast. Yeah.
You're watching the Common Constitutionalist Weekend Video Podcast.
So, I'm back. So President Trump gave his fifth consecutive speech at the NRA annual convention this past week. And he, as he always does, got a warm welcome from the NRA people, and with plenty of raucous applause to go along with it. And at one point, he opened a binder. He had been talking about this, the Arms Trade Treaty from the UN, and he had been discussing this or hitting some points about it. And at one point, he opened up a binder, took out a pen, and signed in front of the entire crowd. I don't think this has ever been done before by any president, that's for sure. His rejection of the United Nations Arms Trading Treaty, or ATT. So, hooray for Trump once again. And again, I'm not a huge Trump guy. I'm a fan of America, obviously. I love America. He loves America, so we've got a lot in common in that respect. I like his policies. I don't like that brash, and I don't like the tweeting and all that stuff, but I've covered that before. But I don't care. Give me policy. Give me this kind of stuff. Put America first. There you go. Because you're the president of the United States. You're not the president of the world, and you're not the president of the United Nations like Herr Obama wanted to be, or thought he was. So anyway, leftists both here and abroad describe the ATT as a way to regulate, quote, the multi-billion-dollar global arms trade, unquote. It sounds illegal. It sounds nefarious. It sounds like what arms traffickers would be doing. But that's not what they mean. Country to country global arms trade, and they want to regulate that through the ATT, the Arms Trading Treaty. But why wouldn't you want to curb something like that, or at least regulate global arms trade between countries? I don't know. So, but when Trump reaffirmed his rejection of the ATT, he correctly stated, quote, by taking these actions, we are reaffirming that American history or American liberty is sacred, and that, listen, American citizens live by American laws and not by foreign countries' laws. And that's key, because he's the first president in a while that hasn't had some globalist mentality to him. He's American through and through. Some might say he's a white nationalist. No, he might be a nationalist. I guess that makes me a nationalist too, because I put our nation first too. There you go. He added that, quote, as a part of this decision, I will sign right now in front of a lot of witnesses. And he said a lot. A message asking the Senate to discontinue the ratification process and to return the now rejected treaty right back to me in the Oval Office, where I will dispose of it, unquote. And in other words, he's going to crunch it up and chuck it in the trash where it so rightly belongs. But so what's so wrong with regulating global arms trade? Well, A, because it doesn't regulate global arms trade. The ATT is completely without any verification process. And B, because it, just like other leftist proposals, treaties or laws, domestic or otherwise, all this thing does is set up the framework to later build upon and further erode our rights here in America through the United Nations, through this treaty. So it's like when Congress passes a law, a domestic law, and then states somewhere in the body of that law, and it may be hidden or it may be in plain sight, that whatever agency will be responsible for enforcing it, but they won't just enforce it, they'll have full authority to add whatever they feel is necessary to enhance the law, and thus, whatever those additions are, without Congress's approval or the people's approval, will by default also become law. All right, that's the way the regulatory state works. That's the way the deep state works. So Congress lays the foundation, and the administrative deep state builds the structure however they see fit around it. And it's a load of crap. The ATT is supposed to regulate the import and export of arms from treaty countries, all right? But it's set up to only regulate us, Great Britain, and Israel and the like, and it basically lets off the hook China, Russia, Iran, Syria, North Korea, all those people. They won't be regulated. Great, terrific. So don't regulate the bad actors, but absolutely regulate the good actors. Makes perfect sense. Of course, to the pygmies and dictators and despots in the UN, it does make perfect sense because they hate America and they hate Israel. And Great Britain is just because they're allies of us. There you go. So, also, this import-export of arms and whatnot, it has a double meaning. Once the treaty is signed, other countries with more restrictive gun laws can actually begin to export portions of their own gun laws into this treaty, and because we signed it, we would be agreeing to import those laws into our domestic system. Thus, those restrictive gun laws would become part of our domestic laws. What? Are you kidding me? So it's why Trump added, quote, "We will never allow foreign bureaucrats to trample on your Second Amendment." And he didn't say our, he didn't say whatever he said your Second Amendment, unquote. So the left in this country has had a hell of a time trying to trample on the Second Amendment. And to date, they've actually had little success, and frankly, it's gotten much worse as of late, as restrictive gun laws have been beaten back by state legislators, governors, and the Supreme Court. So it's actually been good for us, bad for the gun grabbers. So they're looking for another way to worm their way in to take away our Second Amendment rights and also to take away our guns. So gun grabbers have come up with a new tack to take our gun rights away through international treaties signed onto by countries that have no constitutional gun rights. So most of these countries don't. Or they're parliamentary systems like New Zealand that can basically just within 5 days they passed a law to confiscate everybody's gun because they have no Second Amendment. They don't have a constitution written for the people like we do. It can be changed by parliamentary procedure and by a simple vote, and then everything's changed. That's it. Between night and day, that's it. So you don't have to believe me. You can feel free to read the ATT. Don't. Please don't. Or heritage.org actually last February 2018, had a good write-up explaining what a disaster it was. But really, you don't even need to read the ATT. You can read the heritage.org piece. It's a good piece, February 2018, about the arms trading treaty. But you don't even need to do that. Basically, all you ever need to do with anything like this, whether it's domestic policy, legislation, or international treaties, is to see who supports it and who opposes it. It's really just that simple. If a domestic proposal is supported by Media Matters, Democrat politicians like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, CNN and other leftist outfits, all the gun control groups, the gun grabber groups, it doesn't matter really what's in it or what it's called or anything, right? By default, any conservative has to reject it. It's just the way it is. It has to be that way. If they support it, it can't be any good for us. It can't be any good for America, and it can't be any good for the Constitution. It's simple. It's just that simple. So Pelosi even tweeted at real Donald Trump, this is a quote, tweet, quote, at Real Donald Trump, pulling the U.S. out of yet another arms control treaty undermines our undermines our national security and makes for a more dangerous world. Leaving the arms trade treaty that limits global trafficking is lethal, and lethal weapons to get applause from the NRA is reckless and shameful, unquote. So you notice how they could just throw crap out there? They never have to. They never have to back it up with any facts, anything. Because they know they're never going to get fact checked by these lefty outfits. But how does signing some toothless UN treaty threaten our national security? Well, she'll never have to say, she'll never have to answer it, because no one's ever going to ask Nancy Pelosi. And if somebody on Fox or whatever happens to get in her face and ask her, she'll just walk away and that'll be it. It will never be answered by Nancy Pelosi. She'll just throw out these caustic comments or threats or whatever, and won't have to answer for it. There's nothing. And she doesn't have to say anything other than just throw out that it's going to be a more dangerous world and it undermines our national security. How? I don't know how, and we're never going to find out from Nancy Pelosi how. So we're going to take another real quick break. We'll be right back. Yeah, buddy.
You're watching the Common Constitutionalist video podcast.
Yeah, baby!
All right, I'm back. So, the fact is that most member states in the UN, like I said, they hate America. If they propose something, you can bet it is now, or it will soon be. It'll soon become detrimental to our country, undermine our laws, and attempt to undermine our Constitution. That's what they do. Lock, stock, and barrel with the Democrats. That's what they do. Because they want this global community, and America standing in a way to the globe. America and our damn Constitution is standing in a way of their global paradise. That's what it is. So the AT&T, The ATT was also backed by the Obama administration, and that should give you pause right away, all right? It was originally signed by then Secretary of State John Kerry, the haughty John Kerry, and thankfully it didn't go very far in the Senate, who of course has to ratify all treaties, right? Then there's this, quote, the arms trade treaty is designed to keep guns out of here, listen to this. Quote, the arms trade treaty is designed to keep guns out of war-stricken countries and prevent dangerous situations from descending even further into chaos. It is a treaty supported by our allies, but in opposing it, the president instead chose to stand with countries such as North Korea and Syria, unquote, said Chris Brown, the president of Brady, an organization aimed at preventing gun violence. Wrong-o, the Brady campaign, who, if they had their way, would confiscate every weapon from every American, and we know that to be a fact. Incontrovertible, in my opinion. So, do we think that Ms. Brown and Brady really care so deeply about war-stricken countries? Well, I don't know, maybe she does, but I can guarantee that that wasn't her first thought. Her first thought and her goal is, and has always been, as far as the Brady campaign, is to strip America's gun rights away and strip Americans from their guns, period. So the bottom line, it's always the same. Just reject these treaties right out of hand. It doesn't matter what the treaty's called. I don't care what it could be called. Save the Puppy Treaty. And if you look into it, it has nothing to do with puppies and has everything to do with taking our gun rights away or whatever. If every anti-gun group in the U.S. supports it, you know that they're doing it for one purpose and one purpose only, and ultimately to strip away our gun rights, to usurp the Second Amendment, and to take our guns, period. That's the goal. That's what it's always been, and that's what it's always going to be, and that's the way you tell good legislation from bad legislation, good treaties from bad treaties, who supports it, who opposes it. If all these people, if all the Democrats support it, if all these rogue countries support it, and all these pygmies at the UN support it, you know it's crap, and bully for Trump once again for protecting our gun rights globally. Be right back. For de Blasio's Green New Deal. I love this, and because I don't live in New York City. Be right back.
You're watching the Common Constitutionalist video podcast.
Yeah, baby.
Well, you know what? I thought I was going to do Bill de Blasio's Green New Deal, but the rain is coming, and I ain't going to be stuck out in the rain here, and I haven't even started shooting yet. What a drag. So I'm going to cut it right there. I think this is probably long enough. My name is Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist. Thank you for watching the Common Constitutionalist Weekend Video Podcast. And I don't know, it'll be sunny someday, but it ain't going to be this week apparently. It's supposed to rain again all week and be in the 50s. I don't know where the crap we're at. But boy, New England, yay, no. See ya.